We are live. Hi, Dr. Denise. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. You look so
Doing
pretty in that
great.
purple.
Thank you. Oh yes, purple, the quantum color.
Oh,
The amethyst color.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And purple is such of course, now you know my favorite color is hot pink. But next to hot pink, because I love the vibrance and there's a lot of energy, red and pinks have a lot of
Mm,
energy in them. But then purple is such a power color as well, and the royalty of it. And it's fun to really examine what colors mean. And it's so
yes.
cool then to go into like advertising, like, I didn't know it. Well, we did a little bit of study on that a couple times in our Fun Fearless Female group. And I had never realized, Lisa Fredrickson was telling us how blue is a color of trust.
Mm,
And so many banks have blue in their logos. And so they want you, it's that thing, that subconscious thing of trust. Isn't that interesting? I thought it was
yes.
fun.
Yes,
And
it is. And like green is healing,
yeah, yeah.
orange is like power. Yeah, it's very true. And that's why a lot of people go with their marketing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. And so, anyways, I always find all these things so. There's so many things I don't know that it's just so cool to just keep learning more things. So, I'm always like, okay, I'm up for whatever I can do to well, better myself or learn more so I
Hmm.
can help others or whatever that might be.
Yep.
So that Janet was supposed to be with us this morning, and so she's a little under the weather and wasn't able to join us. So I really, really appreciate you being here to just continue our conversation. Nice. So welcome again.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Yes,
I'm going to
my
just
pleasure.
thank you. I'm going to put a little hi in the comments. I always like to start it out. That's the way that I know if somebody's really out there with us. So to say, oh, there we go.
There we
Rachel
go.
Knight, good morning. She says, purple is my color and amethyst is her birthstone. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
And
pretty.
Karen, good morning. And Karen, I want you to know I went to your website and I had the stuff in my little whatever in the cart because she has some jewelry that does some things with energy and stuff, and
Oh,
it's still
okay.
in the cart. I find if I don't do something the minute I'm actually doing it, I got in there, and then when I get sidetracked, so it's still sort of just there waiting till I get back to it. So just know I haven't given up. I still want to go in and take a look at that.
And I
Um,
would like to check it out too, so she can send me her information. That'll be great.
Okay, and you probably, because I have a feeling that in your triple crown, and we were talking a little bit about energy and all that, the um, those, and we don't need to get into it because it could probably be a whole morning conversation, but those the 5G and all that really affects our body and our all of that. I'm trying to learn a little bit more about that because I think it feels like that's true.
Oh, it
The
is. It is. I mean, these are EMFs. These are like microwavable waves that we cannot see. And the higher you go, 5G, 6G, whatever, you can actually, fry yourself. So it's getting to the point where it's pretty strong out there, especially when they're putting up these towers in
Yeah.
areas around where people live and schools. And I mean, I see them all the time driving around town. So really, it's not going away anytime soon, but we need to do things to protect ourselves with the frequencies and to be able to balance ourselves. So yes, we have a whole line on the Triple Crown with our quantum section that does talk about frequencies and how you can help protect yourself, your pets. Don't forget, the animals are very, very sensitive, more so than us in a sense, with their
Oh,
energies. Oh yes, oh yeah, they sense a lot of things, and even that's the way it is in nature. They have their senses are very much more in tune than us, and of course, with the way people are so disconnected now. There you go. But that is definitely for another day.
yeah, that'll
I'm
be
telling you,
another
we
one
can
because
go
I
on and
will.
on here, Delinda,
Well,
right?
I have a feeling we run out of subjects, and isn't that a great thing? So we'll just and maybe too, Dr. Denise, maybe we will do one of my extra things when I do the little workshops or something.
Sure.
We could talk about that or something. So
Yes, yes. I think today you had said the DNA, and I'll be happy to, if you want to, whatever questions you want to ask me and want me to give you a little bit of a background on that, and we can go from there. So,
yes. Well, and I think one of the misconceptions, I think, is that our DNA is our DNA and whatever it is, we're stuck with for the rest of our lives. But you say that no, your DNA is not your destiny, that we do have some choices. So that is a good way to just let us get right in. So I'm going to turn it over to you and tell us a little bit about that on the whole DNA thing.
well, as we well know, we get half our chromosomes from our mother, half our chromosomes from our father. And so that mixture produces a unique you. And there's no one else like us in the world because of our unique genetic makeup. Now, the DNA is in every one of our cells of our body. Okay. And so it's always replicating and replicating. And there are certain variations. The percentage of our DNA, over 95, 96% of it, we're all very similar. Because obviously, when you look at each other, we both have certain things. We both have eyes and ears, and you get the picture. But there are these variations that make us unique, and these variations are known as SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphism. So don't get too, it's just long scientific names. But anyway, these variations are what makes us maybe more prone to different things that we've inherited in our lineage. Like, for example, when you go to the doctor's office and I would take a history and physical, a history on someone, so tell me about your family history. And that's part of it because they'll say, well, my mother had this and that, and my father had this and that. And so you say, well, you could be prone to this and that. And so we say, well, and they say, well, now I'm experiencing this. And so you say, well, you could be part of a, family, it's heredity. But does it really have to be? Now, when they do these DNA testing, where you take a swab inside of your mouth, send it off to the lab, and they do kind of this whole listing of those single nucleotide polymorphisms. And what that will show is that how do you metabolize vitamin D? How do you metabolize carbohydrates? How much inflammation are you prone to in your body? And when we talk about inflammation, I'm not actually talking about the joints, so to speak. I'm talking more about in your vessels, the inflammation in your vessels that could lead to the possibility of heart problems and strokes. And that could be like if you said, my mother died of a heart attack, my grandfather on my maternal side had a heart attack. Well, then you say, well, there's something there, high inflammatory markers. Now, myself, on both sides of my family, I have this and that, especially heart disease. And so when I've done my a DNA profile, that's what I saw was that inflammatory markers were were on the higher side. And that is true because I have also gotten my inflammation down in my body through lifestyle changes. Now, I'm not actually talking about inflammation like my joints are hurting, but I'm talking about inflammation on a vessel level where you have inflammation that's going on that's causing a clogging of the arteries. And so those markers that we do take during blood work, known as C-reactive protein, homocysteine, you don't have to know these names. I'm just saying there are markers that give us some sort of a idea. And years ago, mine were very high. And that says, oh, that's the red flag that goes off that says you must get these down. So I did that through diet changes, antioxidants, not having processed foods. There's a lot of things we can do. So once again, your DNA doesn't have to be your destiny, because you're really looking and zoning into those different variations. Now, of course, a consult with a medical person is important, because you want to know what these things mean. For me, I can talk about it all day long, because I know what they mean, but it's important to bring that out to people to help them understand that we do have the consultation is going to be there. And also, we look at a variety of things. We look at, if you want to increase your metabolism, what foods should you be eating and what foods should you avoid? What type of exercise works for you? Some people do cardio and yoga, and some people like to run and swim. Everyone's, it's different. It is, it's on a cellular basis that's different. And your DNA doesn't change. That's why once you get a testing done, it's good for life. And so, I have just found that when I had my profile done, the different things that, and also there was another one there with proper weight management. And I had gotten both of those variations from my parents. And, in both sides of my family, obesity ran rampant. Of course, you sit down to, a 9-10 course Italian dinner, and, that lasted, 6 hours on a Sunday. And, we like to eat. And that's the way I was born, in that type of environment. And I remember having aunts and uncles that were pretty big people, and I think that's what I always had to watch for. Not that I've ever been skinny, but I just have to really watch my weight, or else I feel the predisposition is there. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I hope I explained that as best as I can, of what we look for when a DNA profile is done. Then the next step would be the supplementation and what things you can utilize, both from a diet perspective, and also a supplementation perspective. Like, for example, if you have a high amount of inflammation in your body and prone to high blood pressure, well, then maybe beetroot is good for you. So like a beet powder or different things like that. So I'm just giving kind of an example.
Yeah.
Or if
No,
you
no.
or if you have trouble with the oxidation of certain types of foods, for example, then you want to maybe have some certain supplements in there. So a lot of it is a proven science. I've worked with this for a number of years now, and with the Triple Crown, we are bringing that to the table as well when we do our launch, where we can do testing and then getting that profile done. And our lab is HIPAA compliant and CLIA certified, meaning that it is abide by the HIPAA practices, in which nothing is sold. You are a barcode, so they don't really know your name, that sort of thing. So the science is there, and we can always go to the website. You can learn a little bit more about the virtual formula. So that's one of the big things about how we can really start to make that switch with our DNA. And as our DNA is as the replication goes on and you're supporting that, then of course your cells are going to be healthier. And that brings us to the next thing that we'll talk about, is
Yeah. What's that?
anti-aging. So who's
Whoa. No,
ever
nobody has any interest in that. I mean,
Well, the thing is that when we first hear about anti-aging, and anyone that's listening now, and even you, Delinda, when you
Yes.
hear the word anti-aging, or that two words, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
The first word, I guess, I don't know if it may even make sense. It's just old. Anti-aging, the word old.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
you know, my skin, you know, it's like, okay, you know, I'd like to do some anti-aging things so that my skin stays more youthful. That's probably my biggest one.
And I think that's the biggest thing, because what do people see? People see the outside of us, no,
Yeah.
the inside of us, well, that's another story, but the outside of us. But when we truly think about anti-aging, my thought is, how do we maintain the length of our telomeres? But I'll discuss that in a minute, okay?
Okay,
Everybody,
the
no, so I don't want to get too crazy with the words, but basically what anti-aging is on a cellular level is, as your cells replicate, you want them to replicate healthier. You want the life of your cell to be the normal lifespan. The lifespan of a heart cell and the lifespan of a skin cell is very different. Okay, the skin, it turns over weeks and weeks, so it turns over very rapidly, and so does your gut as well, the cells inside of your stomach and intestines. But when you look at like your brain cells and heart cells, they take a lot longer to replicate, and it's just because of that's the way the organs are made. Okay, so when you have proper replication, when you have cells that are not dying off prematurely, the length of your telomeres stays longer. So the longer the telomeres, which are the end caps of your DNA, the longer they are, the longer you will live. It's almost like when you're born with, long sleeves, okay? And then as you replicate cells, it gets shorter and shorter and shorter until life ceases. And that's what anti-aging is truly maintaining the length of your telomeres. Now, I may be X amount years old, but I feel that I'm probably a lot younger inside now that I have instituted these things for at least the last 7 or 8 years. I feel better now that I do approaching my sixth decade than I did my fourth decade, because I was like, and that's just it, even stress brings it on too. If you're really stressed, not eating proper foods, um, different hormones are being secreted, and all these things are going to shorten, your telomeres. And also, as your DNA is constantly winding and unwinding and replicating, it's going to be very stressed. So true anti-aging comes from the inside out. And I
Which
have
makes
done that.
sense.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. And it's great, to put stuff on your skin. I mean, I do it myself, I put things, but that's not the only thing. The thing is you've got to be young from the inside as well. And you might look great on the outside because people are getting all this plastic surgery and utilizing all this type of Botox and everything like that. But really, it all comes from the inside. Now, the length of your telomeres is genetically predetermined. That's why maybe it is that, if your parents lived into their 90s, then maybe, your chance is very good. I know the longevity of my family is not so. And I think a lot had to do with, the heart problems that they had, and was not attended to, years ago with, smoking. Both my parents smoked, and sure, that's going to really, anti-aging is going to be accelerated. And we know how bad that is. The food choices, the stress level, not exercising. I mean, that was just, that was the time. That was the time in which, the Marlboro Man was on the billboards. And
Oh, I know. And everything, isn't it funny? This is like a little aside for what you're talking about there, but how interesting it is when I go back and I watch older movies. they are smoking the entire time. I mean, they can hardly say a word and they're smoking and everybody's smoking. It's like, oh my gosh. Because now, and I would think young people who are watching current things, uh, they have no idea what that the change is so different, because we don't smoke, pretty much don't smoke in restaurants. There's not, it's not so prevalent, and we certainly don't have them on the billboards and advertisements. Remember all the advertisements about smoking? It's like, oh my gosh, the cigarettes and Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. I mean, that hasn't been out for 15
Hey,
years.
how about this one? I'll walk a mile for a camel.
I know it. Like, oh my gosh. I know that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, except it does age you quicker, right? Because it breaks down your body.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I just thought when I was a little girl, and both my mother and my aunt, and they smoked. My parents smoked. Okay, they all. And my aunt would say to me, she'd be smoking a cigarette and saying to me, "Don't smoke. It'll age your skin. Don't smoke." And she would say that to me, and here she is smoking. And so I was never a smoker. Neither is my sister. And some other people, my daughters are not, my husband. So now it's like a totally different,
It is. I know it
world.
is,
Yeah,
really.
none of us do. Even in my husband's family, my mother-in-law did. God bless her, she's 89 years old, and then she stopped over the years. But it's crazy. It really is. And the way my mother quit, uh, a month after my daughter was born, 1994, is because she couldn't breathe and she was having severe heart issues, and that's when she just quit cold turkey.
Oh
And that
wow.
was, yeah, and that was when she was late 50s or something like that. And I was like, yep, she just quit. That was it. So
Good.
I mean, yeah, that is good. But something has to kind of shake you in a sense. Who knows, but
Yeah.
still it's kind of crazy. It really
It
is. It
is.
really
Well,
is.
something that you said last week, or maybe it was when we had our conversation,
Mhm.
and you were talking, it's like, so often, based on what you were just talking about with your family, sometimes we wait until something drastic happens. We get a bad report from the doctor, our heart's bad or whatever, and we wait to make the changes. But the point now is, and what you're talking about, is we can begin to make those healthy choices now. We can make a difference. We actually can make a difference with our DNA. I guess we don't change our DNA. Would that be correct?
Yeah,
But
you don't
we
change
can
it. Mhm.
take the things, we can change our lifestyle and habits and supplements or whatever all that adds up to, which, how would you say that then? It makes our body better able to handle that, or, but those choices make a difference.
Yes, it does. It does. I think what it's doing is when you talk about like any type of maybe DNA based supplementation, what you're doing is that you are supporting those vulnerabilities. For example, when I take supplementation, and we'll be looking forward to when we do launch our virtual formula and getting on that. I know that I will have a heart health combination in mind. And it's going, and it's similar to probably what I just do now, only it'll probably be more comprehensive to help reduce the amount of inflammation in my vessels, to help reduce the amount of plaque buildup, to help that fine film around our vessels, known as a glycocalyx. And that's something for another day too. There's so many different topics we can talk about. But when we actually look at, how do we improve our circulation? And that's another aspect too. So you can actually do all these things to really support. Or what if you're unable to absorb vitamin D and you need a certain carrier to help with that? Maybe a magnesium or a vitamin K2, something along those lines. That's going to pick that up. And this way you can absorb the vitamin D more appropriately and you will have a higher level in your blood. So, like I said, this is all supporting the different variations, that we have. Or say you're more prone to arthritis, how can we reduce the amount of inflammation in the joints? And we haven't even gotten into the autoimmune basis of everything going on now, which could be environmental, and how we can help to combat that as well. So anything we can do to be, more proactive is probably the way to go. And that's something that, when I've really gotten into my passion here, I'm like, yeah, this is it. People really have to know this stuff. I mean, it's fine. I can sit around with a bunch of doctors and, you know, scientists, and yeah, we can talk all day long, but that's not going to get out to people to really help them and put it down to that level that they understand what's going on and why it's important to, keep those telomeres long.
I know. So it really is so fascinating. So once you know your DNA, so you have your DNA test,
Right.
and I have done. I think I mentioned that, but I've done that, and now I can't remember what the doctor that took me through all that said to me. I need to go back to my notes again. But it would be fascinating. Maybe sometime we can actually get together and talk about that. But I love the fact, my one of my, I guess my soapbox is choices, that we have choices in our life. And I love the fact that even though our DNA is what it is, that we have choices on how to better take care of ourselves. I mean, when you were talking about from the inside out, I guess my first inclination goes back to water, and that, because when that's the one thing that I do understand, is that, when I drink good water, I drink Kangen water. And it was astounding to me that when I started on drinking that a few years ago, and I still don't really understand it. But how that, my drinking water, it hydrates my whole body. It's not just like I feel like I need a drink of water, but that, your skin looks better. I was taking 2 Claritin a day. My allergies were just so bad, and I didn't get like how that has to do with your gut health and all of that. Like I said, it's what more complicated than I understand, but I can go with things that I know that work. So it's like if we did a consultation and you said, well, if you need to eat beets or take beet powder or something because this or this or this, and I think, well, wow, that's something proactive that I can do. And it's really about learning, right? Learning our
Absolutely.
own body, because my body's different than yours and each of our people out here. I mean, that's pretty fascinating that we can make those changes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Not one size fits all. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the water you picked up on, extremely, extremely important. And alkaline water, as well as hydronized water, all about the same, because what you're doing is you're going from a neutral 7 pH on up. Okay. Anything that is more acidic will not help our bodies. More acid producing foods, drinks, such as coffee, soda, things that aren't good for us, basically. But I still like my coffee. 1 cup in the morning, I'm good. But anyway, um, but when you get more into an alkaline realm, then your body is absorbing the water. The cells are able to become more hydrated and look like grapes. And that's what you want your cells to be like, grapes, not shriveled up like raisins. And that means you're dehydrated. And the same thing goes for your joints. You need to keep a proper water content in the joints and even in the spine. People say, I have arthritis in the spine. Could that have been due to, excuse me, could that have been due to lack of, having adequate hydration? I think majority of us, we do walk around, chronically dehydrated, and our body can get used to that because it's an amazing compensation machine. But when you are used to drinking every day and then you maybe do not drink, maybe you're traveling on a plane and whatever, and then you don't feel the greatest, it's probably because you are dehydrated, because your body has been used to a certain amount of hydration.
So that's a place we can start for sure. Well, Okay, so we're coming at the end of our time. It's like, oh my gosh, it always goes so fast. Uh, I think the thing that stood out to me most today was when you were talking about the telomeres, and that example of it's like, a long sleeve thing, and so it just gradually, I guess, gets shorter, and
Mhm.
the more we can do to keep that from shrinking, right, or going away, keeps those longer. So that's pretty interesting. So so much information you have to share with us, Doctor. I just love it. It's so fun to learn these things. And over in our chat box here, Terry Ann says, very interesting discussion. And our Facebook user, who is not identified, loves this. And so I think this is a great topic. And I love how available and open you are to sharing these things with us. And you and I will be talking about maybe some other things that we can do, ways to share that maybe, because I would imagine there's some comments, so we might do a Zoom thing sometime where we can actually have some Q&A. I don't know
Sure.
how that would be. So anyway, any last thing you want to share this morning before we go off for the morning?
Well, once again, it's all up to us. We have to empower ourselves, and our health is it's up there as well, just with all the other decisions that we make. Except there are times when we have that knowing doing gap, and that always rings true. I had a personal coach years ago, and we did all these topics, and it's the knowing doing. I know what I have to do, but do I do it? And so it's that gap where we have to connect that and know that this is what I need to do, and how am I going to execute it. But be easy on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself, because when you are, then it all says, oh, I'm not doing it, I'm done. So start small.
Start small, right? And I think that that the whole DNA testing, and you're have been alluding to. So, just on a quick thing, just tell us, when you say the Triple Crown, what is that? Where is this going? Just give us a little, and the website again. What is the website?
Website is Soulful, Soul, Rosie, Rosie.com. You can go to Soulful Rosie, and you can also sign up for our newsletter. It's coming out this coming month.
Yeah.
And yes, we're launching that. And then we're also then going to be getting into with the DNA tests, and explain more about that on the website with the virtual. You can go on now and read more about virtual formula. That's what it's called. And what it will have to offer. That has its own little website in the website. And the importance of getting those tests done, and what we can glean from that. And the what we're going to have consultants on board with us. So everything's in the process now. We're all in the process of getting that done and launching. So just bear with us a little bit longer, and in the fall, it's all going to be starting to come to fruition. And especially the Triple Crown curriculum. With the Triple Crown, we look at keeping the body in balance. So we look at the importance of circulation, oxygen, hydrogen, and then we look at the DNA, which I spoke about, and then we look at the quantum energy, the energy that's all around us, and how can we utilize our energy to our benefit.
Wow. Sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to
Thank you.
encourage y'all to go to the website there, Soulful Rosie, and check that out. Sign up for the newsletter. I mean, we get to be on the ground floor of this great thing happening, and I'm looking forward to somehow us getting together and checking out. I I'm in that time of. Uh, I need to take better care of myself, because I want to be around for my grandkids. I've got these 2 and 3 year olds, and I want to be able to have fun with them. I want to be able to have that energy and be able to get up off the floor once I get down there. So I think so. Just a quick, I know we're a little bit over. A quick thing. Would you agree, or would you say that oftentimes we blame aging on things? We just say, oh, well, that's just part of being old. And I don't think that's true. I mean, I think it feels to me like there's more we can do to be better. Just because we're getting a few aches and pains doesn't mean we just have to accept it. Would that be true?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just because we know that, you may have a back problem, or, your knees aren't working as well, there are things you can do to help make that as best as you can, whether you're doing more medicinal things or alternative. No, there are. And I think when it comes into it's mind, body, and spirit, because if your mindset is not in the right mindset, and there's a lot going on nowadays, and it's very difficult now, when we're trying to navigate all this that's getting thrown at us. I choose to have the gratitude. I choose to wake up with gratitude, go to bed at night with gratitude, and bless that I have good health. Your health is truly, your wealth, but we have to look deep inside of us and say what we can do. One thing, we do look to our medical professionals and this and that, but no, we have to turn around and say, okay, what can I do, and where can I get that assistance? And I believe that having, doing health education for me, uh, and it's just so invaluable that I can help others really make, whatever difference, whether it be this or this or this, whatever it is.
And it all starts with this.
Right.
Right. I think sometimes we think we have to change our whole life by tomorrow, but we get too overwhelmed, and we wind up really not doing anything.
Mhm.
Right. So it's like just the little things, those small steps lead to big results. And so anyway, well, we have lots of things to keep exploring together. Thank you so much again for being here. And thank all of you for joining us this morning. And I look forward to seeing y'all next week. I'm going to see, I'm leaving when we get off the stream here in just a few minutes. I'm going to go see my 92-year-old mother. So I do have some longevity in my genes. So that is really nice to do. And she had a little bit of, she didn't like fall, but she slid down on the floor a couple of times in the last week. So she's been staying with my brother. So now I'm going down to stay with her, but she's much better. But we really think that part of it was because she got dehydrated, and she got real dizzy, and then she couldn't get herself up. And so she's been really focusing on, her water intake and stuff. And so anyway, just letting y'all know, say a little prayer for my mother that she just continues to get better. I mean, like I said, I'm going down there to stay with her for a week or so and just kind of make sure she's okay, and maybe bring her back home with me for a little while. So anyway, that's the personal side of what's going on here. And again, thank you, everybody. Remember that life is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. Choose wisely. Choose the things that are going to make your body healthier, your mind healthier, your thinking healthier, because we really are this complete being. And so thank you so much. Go out, make it a fabulous week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye now. Mwah.